All right, welcome to today's explainer. I want you to just think about your morning commute for a second. Now, imagine doing that for 4 hours every single day. Today, we are looking at a daily phenomenon that is honestly as fascinating as it is totally exhausting. Every single workday, hundreds of thousands of people seemingly vanish into this massive transit limbo between their beds in Hebei province and their desks in Beijing. We're going to unpack the data behind this so-called 4-hour disappearance and figure out exactly what drives this extreme megacity commute.
To really understand this, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer scale. We are talking about roughly 400,000 people here. To put that into perspective, that's literally the entire population of a mid-sized city, all waking up way before dawn to undertake this grueling daily migration across provincial borders just to keep the capital running. It's an absolute staggering logistical reality. And when we say extreme, we really mean it. For a lot of these commuters, particularly those traveling up from southern areas like Gu'an, they're spending over 120 minutes traveling just one way. I mean, that's enough time to watch a full-feature film, just to get to work. When you do the math, that adds up to a massive 4-hour daily disappearance from their homes and their families, spent entirely in transit.
So, this brings us to the central mystery of our explainer today. Why? What economic and social forces are out there that are so powerful they drive this massive population to sacrifice so much of their time and physical energy every single day?
Section 1. A massive commuting scale. The scope of the migration.
What's really interesting here is the geographical concentration of it all. Nearly 80% of these commuters are pouring in from the eastern and southeastern corridors. We see massive flows from Langfang's north 3 counties, so places like Yanjiao and Xianghe, as well as towns to the south, like Gu'an, and even over from Tianjin. Together, they form this really tight, highly populated ring of commuters right around Beijing's borders. And make no mistake, this isn't just some occasional business trip. The data shows us that 72.3% of these individuals are enduring this grueling journey every single day. The vast majority are permanently locked into this high-frequency, long-distance routine. So how are they actually getting there? Well, over 40% rely on public transit, squeezing onto intercity buses and transferring over to subways. But a full third take to the congested roads in their own personal cars, while another 23% rely on carpooling. It is just a massive daily stress test on the entire region's transport infrastructure.
Section 2. The real economic drivers. The cost of the city.
Okay, so the core of the issue really comes down to this massive housing price disparity. Homes in these commuter towns cost a mere 17 to 23% of what they would in Beijing's core districts. Think about that. If you work in Hebei but live in Yanjiao, your housing costs are just 17% of what your Beijing-dwelling colleagues are paying. The financial incentive to cross that border is absolutely undeniable.
Now you might be wondering, why not just work where you live? Well, the earning potential paints a super clear picture. The average wage in Beijing is around 46,000 RMB, compared to just 17,000 RMB in Hebei. Keeping a Beijing job yields nearly 3 times the salary of finding local work in the province.
And the people living this reality confirm it. When surveyed, nearly 65% point directly to cheap housing as their reason for living outside the city. Meanwhile, over half cite the lack of a Beijing Hukou, which is the household registration system that controls access to local services and property purchases. These institutional and economic barriers are, without a doubt, the absolute primary drivers here.
Section 3. The Beipiao checkpoint struggle. The daily bottleneck.
Because Beijing is the capital, the security checkpoints at the borders, like the infamous Beipiao checkpoint, create these massive daily bottlenecks. Commuters face strict ID checks, and get this, during important political meetings or major events, police often physically board the buses to manually inspect every single passenger. The physical and mental toll of just crossing that border is immense. In fact, a staggering 98% of surveyed respondents say they recognize the extreme strictness of traffic control during these periods. It's a universal pain point for the entire commuter community, heavily dictating their daily schedules. And these infrastructural choke points are exactly why the average one-way commute pushes well past an hour and a half across the board. If you live in Xianghe, you average 115 minutes each way. If you live down in Gu'an, it peaks at over 2 hours. Think about that. That is time taken directly away from sleep, from family, and from your personal life.
Section 4.
Who are the Beipiao? Demographics of the disappeared.
We really have to shatter the myth that these commuters are primarily low-wage laborers. This group is incredibly well-educated. 77% hold a college degree, and 11% have a master's or PhD. Age-wise, 96% of them fall right into the prime working ages of 19 to 50. They are the highly qualified core workforce driving the capital's modern economy, yet over 80% do not have local Beijing residency.
And they aren't just solo workers roughing it out there, you know? These individuals are balancing heavy family burdens. An amazing 90% have minor children at home, and 82% live with elders over 60. Because of those Hukou restrictions we mentioned earlier, which limit their children's access to the Gaokao, China's high-stakes national college entrance exam, they move out to the commuter belt so they can actually afford the space needed for their multi-generational families to live and for their kids to go to school.
It honestly takes incredible resilience. When researchers asked these folks if they would take a job locally in Hebei for just a 10 to 30% pay cut, only about a quarter said yes. The vast majority remain totally committed to the commute because the local job market simply cannot match their career trajectories or the salaries they need to support those large families.
Section 5. The Megacity Future. A permanent reality?
So urban planners are looking at a few major solutions to help ease this burden. First, creating a seamless mobility as a service by integrating regional high-speed rail with the local subways and buses. Second, optimizing those really painful border bottlenecks using electronic IDs and mutual security recognition. And third, fundamentally sharing public services like education and healthcare across administrative borders, so people aren't forced to live in one place but access services in another.
But here's the thing. Even with these improvements, researchers have concluded that this massive daily migration, it's not a temporary glitch. Projections estimate the cross-border commute will actually stabilize at around 300,000 to 500,000 people long-term. This workforce acts as a completely necessary population pool, providing vital labor to the capital as it continues to grow.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound question to consider. As our global cities continue to expand into these massive economic hubs, is this grueling 4-hour disappearance just the inevitable price of participating in the modern megacity economy? Will extreme commuting become the permanent new reality for the middle class? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this data has given you a whole new perspective on the daily journey of the modern workforce. See you next time.